Alright, so for today's video, if you can tell by the title, we're going to do probably my very first story time, although I think I've done like aspects of it when I did like my appendicitis vlog, blah blah blah, but today I'm officially titling this story time, and I'm going to talk about the ghost situation in this house. Where do I want to start this off? This may be a longer video. I wanted to film in a completely different space in my house, so sorry if this seems a little random, but I wanted it to just be, maybe like this will be like my story time background. I don't know, we'll figure that out together. Thumbs up though if you like it. And so really how this kind of came about, I started talking about this on an Instagram Live. So if you're from Instagram Live, leave me the following emoji down below if you were there when I talked about it and all of that. And then I mentioned it briefly in a vlog and realized some people that weren't on that live was like, what ghost are you talking about? Are you joking? Are you serious? Like, so we're sitting down, we're gonna talk about this. Now, I'm gonna make two storytime videos regarding ghosts, but we're gonna work backwards in time. So today's video is going to be about the ghost situation in this house, and then the next story time, whenever I get to filming that, will be about a ghost, hold on, I feel like you guys are crooked, about a different ghost story at a house I lived in like 13 years ago. Is that right? 12 years ago. Is that right? 13 years ago. And that one's really, that one's a lot more serious, and so I'm just not ready to like, I figured let me start off light first and then we'll work our way back. So first things first, this video is not meant to upset anybody, scare anybody, and at the end of the day, I am the kind of person where I have to see it to believe it. And it's, even though, I'm gonna keep referring back to the first ghost situation, which again is not today's video. Even after that situation, I still find myself a little skeptical every now and then. But I feel like a lot of this is really more in my mind than it is real. But let's talk about everything. I'm gonna walk you through every situation that has happened since we moved in, and you can decide for yourself what you think. So drop your comments, let me know your thoughts, and yeah. So when my daughter and I first moved into this house 2 years ago, or going on year number 3 actually, and which is crazy to think about. You know, houses always have like their own little quirks and sounds when they're settling, when the AC or the heater kicks on, when the water runs, like all of the little things that happen inside the walls, you know, makes a house like creaks and all those things unique. And I know what those sounds sound like. And with this house, I just always had this feeling that we weren't necessarily alone, but it's not like an overly strong feeling, so I always attribute that back to it's like just kind of like in my head kind of thing. But I'm not like one of those people that likes to watch scary movies or anything like that. So it's not like I watch a scary movie and then I think someone's like in my house. This is just me feeling this weird, this little thought in the back of my head. Geez, like, I honestly didn't like write anything down, so I should probably have written like a timeline. So I'm just like pulling from my memory. So if this seems a little scattered brain and I go back in time or forward in time, like, I'm sorry. So my daughter and I have both had our own unique experiences, and then we've had experiences like at the same time together. Most of them can be explained, but not confirmed. And there's one thing that has zero explanation to it. Zero. And that is what kind of gnaws at the back of my mind. So without further ado, we'll get into those. So when we first moved in here, I had that just feeling every now and then. It's not a feeling I have every day. I actually don't feel that feeling at all right now, which again, I attribute back to maybe it's just my subconscious mind, you know? Maybe when I'm a little bit more negative or more down, it's a feeling I have, and maybe when I'm not bothered or I'm busy, like it's not something that I feel like someone's watching me. But there are times where it's sometimes a little strong and I feel like it's right in front of me, staring straight at me. And oh, Loxy's had an experience too, by the way, so we'll get into that. So, the weird thing is, anytime that I've ever heard anything that just sounds completely different from a house, the natural sounds of a house settling, the odd part is whenever I hear it, my daughter doesn't hear it. And whenever she hears something, I don't hear it. So that happens. Let's go ahead and talk about Loxy's experience first, and then we'll work my way to my daughter's and then to mine. Loxy has done things every now and then where it was really off kilter, and I'm just like, what? But we're also talking about Loxy, and she is kind of an interesting, eccentric dog. One time, she just was staring, she was sitting and she was staring straight at like a very bizarre space. It wasn't a window, it wasn't a door. I don't remember specifically, but I think she was staring like at the wall in the living room behind the couch where I have those metal things. And she was just like sitting there staring. And I was just like, what are you doing? She's done that a couple of times, not very many, maybe 3 max, where she's just sat and stared in a direction. And she was like, she wasn't tired, she wasn't doing this thing, because she'll do that. She'll just be like, I'm just chilling. No. She was sitting upright. Her hair wasn't up, but her ears were like this. You know, when the dogs, like, they raise their ears, that was happening. And then there are times where she has an amazing sense of hearing, like most dogs do, but there have been times where there's nothing to be heard and she'll just growl very low, and she'll sit there, like she'll be in the bed and she'll just be like this, growling. Almost like she's used to whatever it is, but she doesn't approve of it being there. So, but again, like, I can't confirm that what the hell she's growling at. Like, I don't have any proof. I don't have anything. Look, there's a ghost. She's growling at him right there. Like, I can't actually say that. I'm just describing to you some of the little odd little things that Loxy does every now and then. Because usually when she hears anything, she doesn't just growl like that. If she hears something going on outside in the front or the back, she gets up and she's gone. I mean, you guys have seen her through vlogs. You've seen her on Instagram Live. She hears something. She doesn't just sit there and growl. She gets up to investigate. So when she sits there and starts growling out of nowhere, but doesn't go anywhere, that bothers me a little bit. And she's done that. She recently did that last week. I was in my daughter's room. We were laying there. It was nighttime. And just started growling, and my daughter was like, get up and go look. All right, so those are basically the little things Loxy's done. So with my daughter, there have been times where my daughter will text me. She's like, did you call me? Did you just make that sound? And I'm like, nope. And it's quiet. It is quiet throughout the house. But how many times have we all thought we heard someone calling us and like it just never happened? You know, it doesn't mean that the background is noisy. It could be dead quiet and sometimes you think you hear somebody. So I kind of wrote that off like no big deal. The problem is when she hears a loud sound and I hear none of it, and vice versa. There will be times where I hear like a door slam and I hear like heavy foot, like whatever, sounds on the ceiling, and I'm downstairs and I'm like, are you making that sound? She's like, no, I'm laying in my bed. And I'm like, are you sure that's what you're doing? Because I need an explanation to these sounds. And I know what Loxie sounds like when she's playing around, and Loxie was with me any of those times that like I had said to her. So Loxie can't be slamming doors and she can't be upstairs if she's like right next to me. So things like that has happened. So then one night my daughter had two friends over here, and my daughter and her and her friends were in her room. They were watching a movie, and my daughter leaves her room, goes down the hall at the top of the stairs, and stops at the top of the stairs because she hears a very bizarre, distinct sound of a monkey laughing. And she said that it was coming from downstairs. Now, this was at nighttime and I was asleep. I never heard this sound. I didn't even know about the story. She did not wake me up. I didn't find out about this, I think, for a while. She never mentioned it to me for a while. And she just said that she didn't go downstairs. I said, so what'd you do? Did you go downstairs? She was like, nothing was on, no TVs were on, but she didn't know that yet. She stopped when she heard the sound. She's like, no. She goes back, grabs one of her friends, and she comes down with her, and they checked, apparently, the whole house, except for the exception of my room where I was sleeping in. And she said nothing was on. No lights were on, no TVs were on, and the sound came from downstairs. She goes, and the movie that I had on, she was saying this, the movie that she had on in her room, she was like, I know that movie front and back, and there are no like monkey sounds or any sounds like that in the movie. And regardless, the audio from her room was behind her down the hall, whereas the sound was coming from like this opposite direction and down. So, you know, she can't really, it couldn't have been her TV regardless. And that freaked me out. I had no explanation to that until I went on Instagram Live and talked about this, and someone has suggested that it could have been Alexa. If you don't know what Alexa is, she is an Amazon technology speaker, and you can talk to her and you can ask her things about the weather, you can set reminders, you can play music, like she has all of these things. And I even think I did an unboxing video about her. And Alexa has been known to have issues. She has been known to start talking without you prompting to wake her up. And the way you wake up Alexa is by calling her name. And otherwise, she does not respond to anything. So you have to say, Alexa, she turns on, and then you ask her what you want. And that's it. Like, that's the only way she can understand to be on. And I have had Amazon send me emails saying Alexa's getting a reboot, we're doing blah, blah, blah. So, and I did hear a story where Alexa was like laughing, really creepy laughs, which I know, did that just give you goosebumps? It did me. And they had to do an upgrade to her, and the upgrade is just like wireless, like whatever they do, like as long as she's plugged in, they send updates and it fixes herself. So that could have been the explanation to the random monkey laugh in the middle of the night. So again, in my mind, I'm telling you guys that there are explanations so far to kind of everything, even Loxie's weird behavior. She's a dog. Like, sometimes dogs do random things. Sometimes God knows what goes on in a dog's head. Like, I don't know at the end of the day. Yeah, so again, a lot of these things are just like you write it off. Like, it's just random things, and oh well, it's not a damn ghost. Now with my experience, I've had the experience of feeling like sometimes right next to me, looking right at me. And I don't feel like it is a horrible, mean, evil ghost, but I don't feel like it's nice either. And that's just, if I were to believe in ghosts, and if I had to place my feeling, I'm just describing to you what I would think it would be like if this is even a real situation. So, so yeah, oh, let me back up. I talked about this because I don't have a timeline. There have been times where my daughter and I have both kind of heard something and we're like, the hell was that? And I've grabbed a knife and me and her have like gone down the hallway and up the stairs, and it's just, and then we find nothing, and it's frustrating because you know you heard something very distinct and you can't find the source of it anywhere, and we never have. So then now back to me, back to my experiences, the feelings that I've had. Again, I don't feel like I sense this thing all the time. Sometimes it's more prominent than others. Sometimes I'm just kind of like, I'm not sure. And sometimes I'm pretty confident there's nothing around. And again, that really can align with just my subconscious thought. Maybe in one moment I can easily believe something like that, and maybe that's when I become more vulnerable and I believe something's there. But then maybe the times where I'm just like, no, that shit ain't real, is when I don't feel anything, you know? So I'm gonna write that off. But there have been times where like the heavy sounds that I hear, like heavy sounds, these are not house moving sounds, it's not Loxy, it's not my daughter, and it's like, what was it then? Yeah, all right. But let's go ahead and move on to this situation. So I have cameras all throughout my house, and you really never see them because they hide very, very well. And I am able to watch very specific angles and rooms in my house. And whenever I leave to like go babysit my niece, I always like have my cameras up and I'm watching. I'm making sure, you know, my daughter's locking the doors and that she's following all the rules, and, you know, that there's not a massive ambush of kids rolling up in my house while I'm gone. So I'm doing a lot of monitoring, and in these cameras, I can also hear. So I can turn on the audio and I can hear if Loxy barks, I can hear the TV that's rolling on, I can hear everything. This audio is amazing. And I can also talk to it. So if I wanted to talk through the app, someone would be able to hear me through the camera. One night I was babysitting my niece and I was watching the cameras, and I also have an app where I monitor my daughter's location. And we've talked about this. I've talked about this app. It's App 360, so a lot of people know about it, and I monitor wherever she goes. So, you know. So this particular night, she had left the house, and I was just sweeping the house kind of through the cameras, and I noticed that she didn't lock the front door. So I called her and I was like, you didn't lock the front door. We talked about this. Go lock the house, even though she was just down the street. So I watch her on the app drive herself back home, and then I switched to the other app and watched through the cameras, which was hysterical because she walks in and she knows that like I'm watching through the camera. She's like, no one's gonna rob our house, and she made some comment, and I was just like, oh my god, 18-year-olds think they're invincible. And so she locks the front door, leaves. I can see the garage door close from a different angle of a camera, and I know that she's gone and left with her friends back to down the street. And I switched the view from the dining room, and the camera in the dining room was pointing towards the front door, but it was right next to the butler's pantry. If you guys know my pantry and you know my pantry door, it was next to that, but it wasn't facing it. So I couldn't see the pantry door or the butler's pantry. I was looking out into the kitchen table or the dining room table, and the front door. That was when I heard the pantry door close. I don't even want to talk about this. So you're probably thinking doors can close on their own all the time, especially like when the AC unit shuts on or off, provide like that little suction of whatever happens with doors, it like causes them, and sometimes maybe if a door isn't fully closed, it'll like open, that kind of thing. No girl, no. This pantry door was closing. It was not opening. I know the sound of an open and I know the sound of a close. It was a very distinct human sound of someone closing the door. It was not some element in the sense of like the air conditioning unit. The other thing that you need to know about the pantry door, and I showed this on my Instagram live, is that it's incapable of shutting on its own or opening on its own, because the foundation is kind of off in this house, and so right where the pantry door is, if you open the pantry door, it's not just gonna sit right there. Like the gravity pulls it and it swings it open all the way. It's not halfway. The gravity literally, if you just pull the door open, and I'll show you guys. So let me just set you right here. Okay, so this is the pantry door I was talking about. The camera is over in this section, and this is the sound that I heard. Okay? Now, as you can see with this pantry door, once you close it, it's not gonna open. It fits into the lock very well. My daughter did not stop in the pantry. She didn't stop to get anything. She came in, locked the door, threw her hands up, and walked out. Now, if I were to open this, it would have to blow this whole door that whole way, and then like an air conditioning unit wouldn't have enough strength or power to do that. So like even if an AC unit, and look, as you can see, it's always going to swing back because there's that gravity pull from the foundation. So again, I'll just show you guys. If I were to open this, even a little bit, you see that? It swings open because the foundation is off. So if somebody left it open, it would never be cracked like this, because as you can see, gravity is going to pull it. So you'd have to assume that if this door was cracked open, the AC unit, there's no way this AC unit would be able to swing it all the way. Like that's not a possibility. And then you get here and you'd have to have like some full force to close this door. And I heard the distinct noise of that. No one was in the house. She was with her friends. She was gone. Because I watched her walk out, I watched her close the garage, and it must have been like a minute or two later. And then I heard that. And I went on high ass alarm. Like, oh girl, I immediately called my daughter. I was like, please tell me no one's in the house. Like, cause there are still like blind spots every now and then, but I would still be able to see someone come down the stairs. Like there is a point where I would have to see somebody at one point if they left the kitchen. All right, so I just demonstrated the door and I have zero explanation to why I heard that. Maybe I just didn't hear that particular door. Maybe there was another door. But I felt at the time when I was watching the camera live, because it is live feed, the sound was so close to the camera, and the only door close to that specific camera from that view was that pantry door. And you know, if I were to look around here, there's no doors in this office, there's no doors in the dining room, there's no doors in the kitchen other than the pantry. The closest door If I were to just look at this, the closest door in this whole house is this front door, and then the guest bathroom in this hallway. And the door that I heard the sound of closing was the sound of like an inside door, not like the front door, because the front door has its own sound. You know what I'm talking about? Like, doors just have their own unique sound. Anyway, I'm talking about doors a little too much, but that's the one caveat to this whole situation where I have zero explanation for it. And it just kind of eats at the back of my mind, like this, what if it was the ghost? I don't know why the ghost is in the pantry, you're opening, closing the door, but, or maybe the ghost knew what I was doing, knew what I was watching. I don't know. Oh, I forgot. See, now I'm remembering from my live. The other things that have happened to me, but I feel, again, there could be explanations to these, happens when I'm sleeping. There have been times where I've woken up and I'm in the most, like, uncomfortable, awkward position where I'm just kind of, like, twisted in a very, like, just, I don't know how to describe it. I'm twisted in a very bizarre way, and it's odd. And it doesn't happen all the time, but, you know, I could just be sleeping and doing things and I end up in an odd position. Oh well, that doesn't mean there's a ghost in the house playing with my body limbs and moving me and all, you know, like, oh, let's make you look like this, you know, like, doesn't mean that's a ghost. And obviously I'm waking up because my body probably feels the pressure of being in an awkward position, and that's probably why I wake up. But I'm going to tell you that never has happened to me before. I've never woken up like that, and it's very bizarre because when I wake up, I don't move and wake up. I wake up while I'm in that position, and I take note of it, and I'm like, what the heck? And then, like, I unfold myself. The other thing that happens when I'm sleeping is there have been times where, like, I've taken off, like, sweaters while I'm sleeping. And I have been sleeping in sweaters for mostly my whole life. And I've never really done that before, ever. And the sweaters that I wear have hoodies. And I've never woken up. I've never woken up to me taking off a sweater. And you're talking to somebody who doesn't get sleep. Okay, I do not get sleep. And I wake up all the time, every hour, pretty much on the hour. The most that I probably sleep at a given stretch is 3 to 4 hours. So maybe in that time, obviously in that time slot is most likely when it's happening. And maybe I'm just hot. My bedroom is pretty warm. There are 2 vents, but I closed off one vent to kind of help the situation a little bit during the winter time. But maybe I'm just damn hot, you guys, and I'm taking my sweater off. That's probably not unheard of. But there have been times where I've taken off my sweater, I've taken off my shirt, and I have to tell you, when I wake up, it's not like I was thinking about the ghost the night before. I zero thought of the ghost. But when I wake up, when I've woken up to the situation and found, like, my shirt off or my sweater off, I'm just like, ghost. It's like my first thought, because it's so unnatural for me to think that I've done it. But at the end of the day, I probably just did it. I just took off my sweater and my shirt because maybe I was just hot. Maybe I was in a dream, and God knows, like, you know, dreams can be weird. And so that one I feel like kind of has its own explanation. But again, these are all things that I'm telling you for a reason that have never happened to me before. That's not to say that it's not going to happen to me in the future and has nothing to do with the ghost, you know? Anyway, hope I didn't freak anybody out. I really don't feel any sense of alarm in this house. Like I mentioned, if there were to be a ghost, I wouldn't place it nice, and I wouldn't place it completely evil, but I don't feel like it's welcoming. And but I still, if I had to end this video, I still feel like there's a 99.9% chance that there's just not a ghost. It's just ridiculous. It's not here. And there just has to be an explanation to the door situation. That's it. Like, that's all there is to it. Everything else, like I mentioned, I feel like there could be an explanation. Again, I have zero evidence. I didn't see the door close or shut because there was no camera pointed at it. I'm not going to point a camera, the freaking pantry door. So all that we've really heard are sounds. She's only heard sounds, and I've had both heard sounds and I've had feelings. So anyway, that is basically it for my very first story time regarding a ghost. Still want to just put this out there. I don't feel like there is a ghost, and if I just kind of mention it in my vlogs, it's just because I'm making fun of myself for even thinking that there is one. I'm not saying that they're not real. It's just really hard for my personality to believe it. I'd have to see it, and I know this is gonna even surprise you further when I do the story time for the second ghost, because you're gonna be like, well, why don't you believe in ghosts after that happened? It's just, you guys, I don't know. Maybe it's this defense mechanism. Like, maybe I don't want to believe in it. So anyway, if you want to share your ghost stories or any story that's similar, comment. Let me know what you think about my ghost situation. Oh, just want to warm you up with a nice light ghost story so that when we get to the other one, I don't freak you out completely. That's it, you guys, for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thumbs up if you want more storytime videos, and I'll see you in the next video.